And as soon as I was walking away, I was like, shit, I have got a lot of stuff that's on there. Slagged work off loads of times. Slagged all the people I work off with loads of times. Drinking stolen stuff off from work there. Bragging about how much I sleep at work and how much
I was going to say the naps, the work naps.
Yeah. It was like, oh shit, maybe I should just delete everything from the internet.
If the channel ever just vanishes, I'll know what's happened. It's fine.
Hello and welcome all into the MO podcast. As always, you're here with me, Consummation,
and me, Atreya.
And today we are going to be talking about the Texakana Moonlight murders.
Ooh.
Now, I know we did say not that long ago that we were not going to do serial killers, but this is an unsolved thing, and it may not just be one person that did it, so no one's ever been brought to justice for this, so we're not glorifying anyone in any way, shape or form. I hope.
I love that you're making the most of the 14 Times subscription, which, by the way, doesn't feature true crime or serial killers.
Yeah. Well, I've got loads of Victorian stuff from that book that I had. I just need to write it all up. And then I still have the 14 Times open, but it's like, what was the last one? The Mothman?
Mothman in Chicago, the latest one.
Oh. Okay. But it's been done to death, really, hasn't it? So.
To be fair, I didn't really enjoy this last month's episode.
Yeah. There's a bird in it, a Mothman, but...
Well, a big owl, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's a something crane. Oh. Anyway, can't remember. But yeah, anyway, so back to this one. The Texakana Moonlight murders. Now, back in the day, this was way before Netflix and chill, a young man trying to woo a lady of an appropriate age, say that, would have to fall back on his driving skills and the darkly lit, dusky lanes to try and get his end away. Now, I assume they all drove out to the darkly lit lanes because of the implication. But from February to May 1946, 4 unsolved violent attacks, which would leave 5 people dead and another 3 people traumatised, would occur in Texakana, which the press dubbed the Texakana Moonlight Murders. Now, Texakana is a Texas city. It's situated on the border with Arkansas. Now, it's kind of split. There's a Texakana, Texas, and a Texakana, Arkansas, and these were primarily committed in the Texas side of it. Today, it has just over a population of 30,000 people, but back in the 40s, it was less than half of this, with just over 17,000 people. So, I don't know if they were a close-knit community. I wouldn't say they were a close-knit community, but this kind of had ripples. If people are dying, it has a kind of knock-on effect, and especially in such a short space of time. So the first attack happened on the 22nd of February. Now, Jimmy Hollis, 25, and his paramour Mary Jean Larey, 19, had finished watching...
Hold on. Her name was Mary Larey?
Mary Larey, yes. I tried to skip past that as fast as I could, but didn't think we were going to have it.
Oh, Mary Larry. Go on, lass.
Exactly, and it's back in the 40s as well. They only had 5 names back then. Come on. I mean...
They're cruel parents.
You know. So Jimmy and Mary maybe had finished watching the new Clark Gable flick at the movie house, and they decided to go for a drive. They stopped on a secluded road, and they were probably just discussing Clark Gable's hair or something other
Sure, that's what they were doing.
inoffensive thing. But, well, it must have been, because this was way before dogging was invented. So what else are they going to do?
Pretty sure they were talking about some form of baseball.
Balls, maybe.
Just which base they could get to.
Yeah. So they thought they would be undisturbed, left all alone down this dark country road. But unfortunately for them, a man with a pillowcase over his head had different ideas. Now, before you say anything, I know what you're thinking. It is Texas, so maybe it was just a local KKK member checking in on them, making sure they weren't black, and making sure they were okay.
I actually wasn't thinking that at all. I was thinking that's the shittest disguise ever. But okay. We'll go with KKK.
But apparently this kind of pillow-wearing offender wasn't after... He didn't discriminate about what kind of blood he was after. He just wanted blood on the dance floor. No, it's murder on the dance floor. He wanted any kind of blood he could get hold of. And
he wanted to abolish people with stupid fucking names.
Maybe. And maybe he just wanted decent amenities for these young people, and he had to just make his point in the most vicious way he could.
Maybe.
You know, I mean...
Did it work? Did they get a park, a skate park?
I mean...
Or a diner, even?
Probably got one now, but... I
wonder if... We should probably look into, like, the origins of the OK Diner, because maybe's... We don't know. I've never looked into the origins of the OK Diner. Maybe the OK Diner was brought about because of this. We've got this guy to thank for the amazing ice cream sundaes. Oh.
Yeah.
I digress. Sorry, continue.
Could be. I wouldn't really be thanking people walking around in pillowcases. Just that's from my stance. But anyway.
Never tasted the ice cream sundaes at the OK Diner.
Yeah, no, but you're coming across a bit Nick Griffin at the minute. So.
Hey, you were the one who straight away said KKK, and I just thought it was a shit disguise.
He's wearing a he's in Texas. I mean, in the 40s.
It's just like a really cheap Halloween outfit. Like, he couldn't go full ghost because he didn't have the rest of the duvet.
Pretty sure the KKK sent a regiment to the Second World War. Like...
Wearing pillowcases.
Probably. That'd scare the Nazis, wouldn't it? In fact, they'd be like, we're on the same fucking page, lads. What are you doing?
Why are we fighting?
Yeah, we hate them all too. Anyway, 10 minutes after the couple had been parked and talking casually, not touching, the fiend approached the car and he shone a flashlight in the driver's side window. Maybe he got a good view of arse going up and down, but who knows. He ordered the couple out of the car and demanded that Jimmy Hollis take off his goddamn britches.
Okay.
So maybe he was the inventor of dogging. We don't know. Maybe that he wanted to get involved.
I mean, very maybe.
Yeah, but I don't think he did, because he then struck Jimmy on the head twice with a pistol, which made a noise so loud that Mary thought the attacker had actually shot Jimmy.
Oof.
It wasn't that. His skull had been fractured. So...
Yikes.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other on that one.
That guy's pretty strong then.
Yeah. He's yeah, I don't think he's that clever though, because he then told Mary to run, which she obliged. Only she was caught by the man, who then asked her why she was running. So maybe he's got like short-term memory loss or something. I don't know.
Possibly.
She tried
Maybe he was just nuts. He was approaching random teenagers with a pillowcase on his head in the middle of the night.
Yeah. And maybe this is where fucking Zodiac got his disguise from, you know? But after Mary tried to explain that he'd actually told her to run, he called her a liar and then he sexually assaulted her. Now, Mary managed to run off after the assault to a nearby house and raised the alarm. Jimmy, amazingly, had also raised the alarm after regaining consciousness, and 30 minutes later, after the attack, the police arrived. They found no trace of the assailant.
30 minutes?
Yeah. They must have been right far down this fucking deserted lane.
Or the police in this, I guess, I mean, it doesn't constitute... Does it constitute as a village still?
But
is it a town?
Town, I'd say.
Maybe it's the police are just woefully ill-prepared, like... What's that? Somebody's attempting to murder you? Whoa. We're just all about the culling of the badgers and, telling people that they shouldn't be smoking in that area. In fact, actually, we tell people they can smoke where the fuck they want. That hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
We're not in that era.
No,
they probably weren't prepared for murder.
All the police were there for was denying black people their rights at this moment in time. So,
yeah.
So, the couple, unfortunately, gave conflicting accounts about their attacker, which led the police to believe that they knew this person, but they were kind of covering for him, which kind of sums up the police in this.
How can you give conflicting descriptions of your attacker when your attacker is just a bloke with a pillowcase on his head? Can't you just go, well, I didn't see his face because he had a pillowcase on his head?
Yeah, so this is the thing. I think Mary said that he was a black person, whereas Jimmy said he was tanned. I think that's literally the only conflicting bit of evidence they've got. And they were
How can you tell if he's got a pillowcase on his head?
I don't know.
It's dark.
Yeah.
He could be the palest, most ginger freckled bloke in the world, but if it's dark and he's got a shadow and he's wearing a pillowcase on his head, it's going to cast shadows on his face and it's going to make his skin colour look completely different to what it is.
In fairness, we'll just go back to the fact that he asked Jimmy to take off his goddamn breeches, and then maybe the attacker took off his goddamn breeches, and then you could clearly see the difference between whether he was white or he was black.
But did he?
Well, we don't know. That's speculation.
Wouldn't that not be the first thing that you said when you're describing your attacker? Well, he whopped his cock out, so that's how I know what his skin colour is.
14 inches,
Gave the game away.
Yeah. Anyway.
Would that not be one of the things you mentioned?
Yeah, so...
I would.
The police basically they treated this as an isolated incident. They didn't think Jimmy or Mary... They basically thought it was a ménage à trois gone wrong. They were like, we don't want anything to do with this because it's the 40s, man, and we don't want to bring anything down. So, So on the March 24th, the masked weirdo actually took his first lives. Now, these would be Richard Griffin, who was 29, and Polly Ann Moore, who was 17. So...
No, you said 29, didn't you?
Yeah.
For a second, my brain was going 39. I was like, whoa!
Yeah, I mean,
but,
it's not
29's still
greater.
bad, but it was the 40s, wasn't it?
Texas, baby. So, unfortunately, the bodies weren't discovered until the morning of the 24th, as they too had been parked on a secluded road when they were killed. Both were shot twice in the head, and there was a blood-soaked, stained patch of earth outside the car, which suggested that they were killed outside the car and then put back in once they were dead. Now, the two attacks weren't linked, which in a town of 17,000 is a little bit odd, and in such short space of time. And although the public were told to be vigilant, there was nothing to link these two attacks together. Then, on the 14th of April, the pillowcase bandit struck again, taking another 2 lives. Now, this time, it was 17-year-old Paul Martin and 15-year-old Betty Jo Booker.
Okay, if you tell me, right, that Betty Booker decided, after 2 sets of couples had been down a scary, dark road in a car, right, and the first couple had been accosted and the second couple had been killed, right, if Betty B decided, let's go down a deep dark road because that sounds like a cracking idea, I'd be very mad at her.
Yeah.
I'm livid with her. I'm just going to say that right now.
Yeah. I mean, so, yeah. This
What
time,
are these people thinking?
Because it wasn't, these attacks weren't linked, they were just one-off attacks. So even though...
Two one-off attacks.
Yeah, in the 40s where it wasn't... I mean, it was actually called Little Chicago at the time because, like, in the 40s, Chicago was full of murders and shit like that. But it didn't have that much of a high crime rate. It was just...
Which makes it all the worse that they're not taking it seriously because, like, this thing doesn't happen in where we live. This shit just does not happen. Let's go and do exactly the same thing that the first two couples did, just in case, to try and see it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it wasn't
fucking real.
An innocent place by any stretch of the imagination, but young couples would do this on the rake, and nothing would happen. And once two things happen in such a short space of time, no one puts two and two together. But
even the first time would be like enough for me to just go, if a bloke said to me, hey, let's go in my car and go down a deep dark road, I'd be like, you know what happened to the last people that said that? No, I've got a barn, let's just fucking you know, let's stay in the house.
It's easy. So this time 17-year-old, they weren't killed, this time the couple weren't left in their car, but their bodies were dumped by the side of the road. Now, they were dumped 2 miles apart with each other, and the car was found a further mile away. Now, there were defensive marks on the two victims, which indicated a struggle between the victims and the killer. Now, once these killings happened, the police went, hang on a minute, maybe something's going on. Now, due to this and sensational media reports, and due to the fact that despite the ages of Paul Martin and Betty Jo Booker, they were seen as upstanding members of the community. Like, Betty Jo played in the band, and Paul Martin was like a high school fucking jock and whatever. And the police went, hang on a minute, nice people are getting killed here. We need to sort it out.
They might be nice, upstanding members of the community, but they're fucking idiots.
Well, yeah.
Who thought that was a good idea?
So, the police started warning people that maybe, just maybe, there was a serial killer knocking about, and unofficial curfews were implemented for businesses in an attempt to keep people off the streets at night. So basically, all the businesses in town would close at 5 p.m. And
that's smart.
Things that would entertain younger people wouldn't be open. Do you know what I mean? So they shouldn't be on the streets.
Is that a bit of a double-edged sword? Because then wouldn't the younger people be like, oh, there's fuck all to do. All the bars are closed, the diners are shut, the movies are a thing of the past. So let's just go down this deep, dark road and see what we can do there.
Let's go for a drive. I've got an idea. Yes.
That's a good idea and singularly a terrible idea at the same time.
But in a way, it kind of worked, because on the 3rd of May, the Phantom would murder his last victim, who was Virgil Starks. Now, Virgil Starks was 37 years old, and it's different from the other killings, because obviously he wasn't down a dark road with a 15-year-old. Well, maybe he could have been in the past, but not at this point in his life was he down the road. He was at home. He was reading a paper in his front room, and he was shot twice in the back of the head through the window. Now, Virgil's wife, Kate, who was 36, she heard a commotion. I don't know if she heard the shots, but it was described as a commotion. She went in and she saw Virgil was dead. Now, Virgil and Kate lived on a 500-acre farm, which was 10 miles away from the actual town of Texakana. So, that's pretty much the only thing that fits in with the MO. with this just because of the remoteness of it. But they weren't that secluded because they had neighbours that will see that they could easily run to. So I don't know. This is the one that seems like it's not related. It's just someone who had a beef and just went, you know what, I can get away with this.
So are we assuming at this point then that there's no more couples down dark roads? It's
So-
like run out of couples down dark roads, so it's moved on.
So I think this is what the police were thinking at the time because the curfew.
I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, I think because the curfew, they thinking the curfews worked and all their reports in the papers have worked. No one's going out, so now the killer has to go and be a little bit creative. Which, yeah.
But no one's going to advertise that they're going to go and have sex on a country road in the middle of nowhere, are they? Hey, Mom, I'm just going out with my boyfriend. We're going to have sex in a car on a country road. Be back later.
And this is the thing, because these roads must have been known for there to have been a killer there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what? I mean, we've all got that one road. I mean, it used to be more.
There's several around here.
Yeah, exactly. You all know where it is, kind of thing. And it's one or five. But you don't need to advertise on Craigslist where it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, you all know.
Yeah.
So these roads were getting used enough for him to be there to be able to do this 3 times previously. So maybe it did have an effect. The police, the curfew, and all this reporting. Maybe it did have an effect, and he had to change his MO with it. But this is the one that's a little bit more.
I don't think horny teenagers really ever have any sense, though.
They're never going to
Just
change.
like, well, we could die, but I really, really want sex.
Yeah, hormones.
Yeah.
And no.
Yeah,
The 40s. Like, we've only got them vibrators from the 1800s at the minute.
and that needs a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, exactly. They've not fucking got plugs or anything. Jesus. Got to wind it up with a crank. Fucking hell.
I don't think this one fits. This
No.
doesn't fit very well.
No, I mean, Virgil was shot in the back of the head twice through a window while he was reading his paper. Now, Kate, his wife, heard the glass shatter. She went to see what was happening. Now, she realised quick enough that he was dead. She went on to ring the police on the telephone, but before she could give them 2 rings, she was shot twice in the face.
Oof.
Yeah. Now, she lost several teeth and a bullet was lodged in her gum. But despite all that, she managed to survive, and before she could retrieve the pistol that was in the next room, she heard someone trying the back door, trying to force their way in.
Whoa. How fucking thick are her teeth?
I mean, it could... Yeah. I don't know, really.
This doesn't happen. This is not a thing.
I mean...
Can we reinforce people's teeth now?
No, but it has been reported previously. So, like, Carlo Gambino was the head of the Gambino crime family. He got... someone pulled a gun at him from, like, 6 feet away and pulled it, shot him at his face, shot him in his head, and it actually went all the way around his skull and exited at the back, and he just had a line there. It didn't break his skull or break the skin. I think the bullets were just shit. But...
So if somebody's pointing a gun at you, it's best to just kind of either go and whip your head round or just go...
Possibly, but I mean, back in the day, they didn't have hollow points. They didn't have cop killer bullets. Do you know what I mean? They were just learning how to take lives. This is the 40s. This is before the Nazis perfected mass genocide. Do you know... I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. It's a bad thing. Mass genocide is a bad thing. Let me walk back on this quite quickly.
Okay.
Guess what's getting edited? No.
Oh, fuck, this isn't even alcoholic.
What I'm saying is there has been strides in technology and gunpowder and bullets and hollow points didn't exist and da-da-da-da-da. That's all I'm saying. So back in the day, you just had, like... They may have even had the fucking revolutionary guns where they had to put gunpowder in it first, put a ball bearing in, and then try that. You don't know. But So she couldn't find. She went to the next room to try and find a gun, but because of her wounds, she couldn't actually concentrate and see where the gun was. So she ran out of the front door, and she ran to her sister's house, who lived across the street. She wasn't in, so she ran to another neighbour's house, who was A.V. Prater, and she basically, all she could say to him was, "Virgil's dead," and then she collapsed. Now, obviously, he called the police. The police arrived. Nothing. There was no trace of this man or this person who was the killer. There was certainly no pillowcases left behind. Now, after Virgil's death, people lost their shit, and they started to get properly tooled up. Now, again, this is Texas, so I don't really think they had an especially big reason to buy another gun, but whatever reason they had, they were fucking using it.
Just dusted off the shotguns and the rifles.
Yeah. Now, people would stand shifts on their property, fully loaded, and demand whoever was approaching their house, identify themselves. Now, it got to the point that the police would have to put their sirens and lights on before approaching houses to interview people about what had gone on in the area. Not even suspects, witnesses, because these people...
chance of getting shot.
Yeah, exactly. Now, vigilantism and, in some cases, grudges started to rise to the surface of the community, with people accusing each other as the killer, and armed gangs would roam the darkened lanes trying to smoke this person out. It got to the point where the police had to actually make a statement of saying, basically, if you don't know who it is, don't fucking come talking to us because you're wasting our time. Just because you've got a problem with Joe Bloggs down the road, tree, it's overhanging, that isn't part of what this is. We need all our resources for this. Now, a high schooler even followed a bus because he saw someone who looked suspicious. Get on board.
Was the guy wearing a pillowcase as he got on the bus?
I mean...
I'd have done it for me.
Yeah. This is the thing. I mean, I don't know how he would have used his bus pass if he had a pillowcase on his head, but you know. This actually resulted in a 3-mile chase from the police because he got reported for following this bus, and the police drove out and they followed him for 3 miles. And the guy was called CJ Lauderdale. He wouldn't pull over. And when the police actually shot out his tyres to force him off the road, he turned around and he said, "Well, I didn't know who you were."
I just thought the sirens were a fad.
Yeah.
The crazy kids.
Yeah, I don't know how undercover they were, but that being said, the police did take a leaf out of Elliot Ness's book and the Cleveland City Police, and they did start to dress up to try and infiltrate these lovers' lanes.
Did they dress up as couples?
One can only imagine what was going on there. We've all seen that picture from the Cleveland Police with the Cleveland torso murderer.
I feel like they dressed up as couples and went down these country roads, but in their police cars, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't do it right.
With big moustaches and
Yeah.
Maybe they were just doing that in the back.
Just one bloke in the car.
Yeah. One bloke in the car, one bloke in the bush, watching out. Who's that? Got you. So, after this, nothing happened again. Well, maybe a few things happened, but nothing related to the killer happened again. And the killer was never caught. Now, although he was never caught, there were a few suspects that were bandied about. The first one was Ralph B. Bauman. He was a 21-year-old ex-Army Air Force machine gunner. Now, he claimed to have awoken from a fugue state of several weeks on the day of the Starks murder. He noticed his rifle was missing, And then he heard about a suspect matching his description, and he decided to hitchhike to Los Angeles, feeling like he actually did it. He didn't want to turn himself in. He just went, oh, fuck this shit. I'm
going to
off.
say, so he didn't feel guilty then?
No, he was just like
Maybe I should talk to the police.
Someone's going to get me for this. On May the 23rd, he told Los Angeles police that he thought he might be the Phantom. Bauman said he had been discharged from the AAF, which is the Army Air Force, for being psychoneurotic. And he had previously confessed to killing 3 people in Texakana in a period of 3 days, which was never reported and didn't match a timeline.
So he's just, like, full of shit.
So he's just ill. Yeah. He didn't have anything to do with it. He just
I kill people all the time. I killed somebody like yesterday probably, and like the day I think I've killed like 30,000 people in 1 week.
Yeah.
In a pub.
Yeah. Basically
with only 4 bullets.
That's it. He was like talking at the bar one night after a few drinks, and he went talking, I'm the best shot ever. I've killed all these people. Took his rifle out to show all these bar people. Missed about 4 shots. Fell over. Passed out. Managed to get home. Woke up the next morning and was like, fuck, I can't find my rifle. I must have killed 1 million people last night. Shit. Yeah. And then ran off. Pretty much.
Yeah. Telling you, drink's the enemy. But also a friend.
Yeah. Very good friend. Henry Booker Tennyson, who was nicknamed Doody, was an 18-year-old I'm going to just plough through, was an 18-year-old university student freshman who died by suicide on November the 4th, 1948. Now, he left behind these cryptic instructions which basically directed the investigators to a suicide note in which Tennyson confessed to the Booker and Martin and the Starks murders. Now, in his suicide note, he wrote, "Why did I take my own life? Well, when you commit 2 double murders, you were 2. Yes, I did kill Betty Jo Booker and Paul Martin in the city park that night, and killed Mr. Starks and tried to get Mrs. Starks. You wouldn't have guessed it. I did it when Mother was either out or asleep," so he's one of them,
fucking hell,
"and no one saw me do it. For the guns, I disassembled them and discarded them in different places." Now, police never found any evidence of Doody being involved, and James Freeman, a friend of Doody's, actually turned around and said, on the night of the Starks murder, he was playing cards with us, and we all heard the news coming together while he was sat next to us. So
you would think as well, if you were like owning up to something like, oh, and I disassembled the guns and I scattered the pieces over here and in this field next to this yellow car and one outside the post office, like just as that little bit of proof.
Exactly. I mean, if you go into the extreme, I mean, obviously he must have been ill. I don't know, I can't comment. But if you're going to commit suicide, you're not very well, are you?
No.
But if you want to cleanse your conscience, you would give details about only the killer would know.
Yeah.
And not be at a poker game on the night when can be verified by other people in the room. Yeah. Because you just sound like a dick.
I never understood that. Like, people who turn themselves in as, like, the crimes that they never committed. Like,
what, you bragging? Yeah.
Why?
What do you want
Prison's
to
not
do?
a very nice place, you know.
No. I mean, yeah. It doesn't even... no, yeah.
And it's not even like... It's not even like for the infamy, because a lot of them are like... You're not the son of Sam. It's not a big crime. You're telling us about something and you're putting yourself away for something that is going to be tomorrow's chip paper. No one gives a shit.
Yeah. This is it. I don't think like you can even. The only thing that people are gonna stop and go, oh, he's a bit mental, is like if I killed JFK. Or I killed the Pope, the Queen. You know what I mean? You've got to go big or go home with it.
Yeah.
Rather than go, I killed 2 people who were having sex in a lane.
Yeah, if you were going to go big, you would have said that you killed the lot of them. You wouldn't have just gone,
Yeah.
Just some of them. I don't know who did the others, but it was just two of them. That was me.
Yeah. I got my
Four of them,
inspiration from the first two, but then I didn't do it, you see. You're not even following through with all of them. It's like,
What is the point?
I'm only half responsible for this terror that happened. It's like, So,
I don't get
it. Now, the last one is the one that was kind of... the one that the police really wanted to go for. Now, it was Yul Swinney, who was a 29-year-old car thief and counterfeiter. He was arrested in July by police who were investigating car thefts in the area. Now, after realising the night of the Griffin Moore murders, a car had been stolen in the area and it had been found abandoned. Now, one of the investigators was able to find and locate that car and arrested Sweeney. And arrested Sweeney's wife, Peggy, when she came to retrieve it. Now, Peggy confessed in great detail that Sweeney was the Phantom Killer and he had killed Booker and Martin.
Did he sleep with her sister or her friend? That's how this is going.
So, no, this is a really weird. Well, it's not weird, but it's just like Peggy kind of. I don't know if she knew or what she was doing, but she basically said, "Yeah, we drove down this lane, and then he said, Swinney said, I need to go to the bathroom." An hour later, he came back, and
That's some banging shit.
Yeah, I know. Jesus Christ, I'd be like, fuck me. If only I could drive, I'd be home now. Fucking hell, I've got to wait for him. But she said he came back an hour later, and he was wet. Maybe he was sweating. I don't know. It could have been a gnarly thing. We've all had Taco Bell. But the two of the people were found near a pond. So that's kind of thing. And then Swinney was supposed to have said to her, "Oh, I've just killed 2 people and I had my way with the female."
Why would you tell your wife that?
I have no idea. So this is kind of where you go, right, okay. I can understand maybe she's been abused and that and whatever, but she was quite happy to tell the police this.
Yeah, I do not think she seems like the sort of wife that if he said that, she'd be like, "Get in the fucking car. Just drive us home.
Yeah.
Stop fucking acting yourself.
Yeah.
Fucking prick.
Talk about this when we get home. I've been waiting for an hour. You're sweating. Fuck's sake. So glad you did that out here because we don't even have plumbing yet."
And, I mean, to be fair, he might have just pissed himself.
He could have done it.
Because he pissed himself.
He could have just fucking fell into a puddle, knocked himself out and been lay there for an hour. But
exactly.
Peggy's story changed across several interviews. It was this is why the police believed she was withholding information. Now this could have been from fear of Sweeney or maybe fear of incriminating herself. Now the police were able to verify some details of Peggy's confession, such as the location of the victim's possessions, where she said Yule had discarded them. So there was a notebook that that Sweeney said he took and he threw in a bush, which was where the police found it, and this wasn't reported in the papers. So either she was there or they were out having a walk later and they came across it. Don't know.
Possibly.
But
wasn't it like a reward or something? Reward for any information. You'd just be like, "Oh, found this notebook, handed it in. Can I take the reward money?" There's always rewards money back in the 40s.
Yeah. But again, I think it may be because he was a known car thief as well. So how would that work? I don't know. But for whatever reason, there was some stuff that was really good and there was some stuff that was meh. So it was basically circumstantial evidence that they had. Now, even though there was a lot, it was Peggy's confession that was the most critical part. Now, Peggy recanted her confession about what had happened, and because a wife could not be compelled to testify against her husband, she was considered an unreliable witness, and a jury would have seen straight through it straight away. But Sweeney was actually he was tried and imprisoned for the car theft, but apparently he took a plea deal to not have any investigation or any evidence brought up about how he was involved with the murders. So there's a little bit of the circumstantial evidence of he knew more than he wanted to let on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So this is why law enforcement and they tried for 6 months to try and get some kind of concrete evidence on them. They interviewed Peggy over several interviews over this 6-month period. They tried to find evidence about where Sweeney was, try and tie him to the murders, but on the night of the Booker Martin murders, Sweeney's was sleeping in their car under a bridge near San Antonio, which was like miles away from the actual thing, so they couldn't pin anything on him. So apparently Sweeney took a plea deal just to be charged as a car theft rather than anything else, and the police thought that was a win for them. Which, I mean, they've lost 5 people, but you know what? They've got a car thief behind bars.
Swings and roundabouts, innit?
Exactly, you know.
Kid hell.
Texas in the 40s, fuck me. This actually was made into a film in the 70s. And it was by one of our we've talked about one of this filmmaker's films on here. It's the guy who did The Legend of Boggy Creek. And he made a film called The Town That
Never Slept.
No, The Town That Fears Sunset, I think it is.
Yes, yeah.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I can see the cover in my head. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's by the same guy who did Boggy Creek. So,
Bet it was amazing.
Yeah, we can all draw whatever we want from that. But yeah, still unsolved to this day. And I assume, as with all murders, this is a case that is still open and people are probably still looking for information. But unless you find an old pillowcase in your attic with eye holes cut out, and even then, you know, I wouldn't ask too many questions of your great granddad because. Moving on. Send that to Oxfam.
No part of your brain would go, "Oh my god, this could have been used in a murder." You'd be just like, "Okay, so that's an old-fashioned gimp suit."
oh. Shit Halloween costume.
Yeah. This was a really small ghost. Are they dressing the baby up as a ghost? Yeah, you just wouldn't automatically. It'll be long gone now because somebody would have thought that. They would have found it in their attic and kind of gone, well, this is weird. Put it in the bin. Oh,
God, yeah. Or even, reusing it. It's going to be sold into, someone's going to have found a pillowcase and gone, oh, I can do my curtains with that. I'll just get rid of them holes, but, you know.
Well, I suppose you could just, you could still put it on a pillowcase. You just flip it so the holes are on the underside, you know?
Fuck me. Flip it over, it's looking at you like that. Oh, my God.
You know, I'm just thinking, upcycling is very in now.
Exactly. That's what you got to do with your stuff. KKK, take note.
So just sew little patches over the eye holes. Yeah. No one will ever know.
Yeah. And on that bombshell, this has been the MO podcast with me, Contumacious Ant.
And me, Atreya.
Thank you all so much for joining us, and we shall see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
The MO Podcast. The MO Podcast. The MO Podcast. The MO Podcast.